Hey y'all, welcome to Pleiadian Point of View. I'm Peyton with Peyton Energetics, and I'm a Pleiadian channel and starseed coach. So in today's video, the Pleiadians are going to be chatting with us about our frequency, which, as we know, is pretty much the most important thing. But before we jump into today's topic, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button if you haven't done that yet. So in today's video, I wanted to share with you a little nugget of wisdom that the P's dropped on me recently. And sometimes one of the best ways to see the real genius of the Pleiadians is not in the formal messages that they share, but just those little offhanded comments that they make to me as I go about my human life that change everything. So today I want to share with you just a little story of something that they helped me work through recently in case it helps you do the same thing. So as we know, because we are members of the spiritual community, our vibration is the most important thing. It literally determines everything. Our reality is a projection of our frequency. That is why we talk all the time in the spiritual community about keeping our vibration, how to raise it, how to maintain it, how to protect it, because it is the creator of our entire reality. So one of the things that a lot of y'all can probably relate to is it can be a little challenging these days to protect our frequency and our vibration. Our mood is another way to look at it, as we are rumbling around in the 3D world. When we are starting to hear all of those crazy storylines that are floating out there, all the stuff that may or may not happen, just as we kind of tootle around in the world, it can be tricky to hold on to that feeling of peace and love that we have worked so hard to achieve as light workers and starseeds. So how do we protect our vibration when we're kind of surrounded by so much craziness? So many people who are in a very different place than we are, have a very different understanding of what is happening in the world than we do. It can just be a little tricky to stay positive these days. So a few weeks ago, I was having a human moment and was spiraling about one of the 3D stories out there. Something had happened and it had kind of set my hair on fire. And so of course the P's popped in to help me get some perspective. So as I was standing there, I remember I was out in the yard with the dog and just fuming about one of those mainstream storylines that y'all know of. It was just really getting to me. And as I stood there fuming, the P's popped into my head and said, "Would you like us to help you shift your perspective on this?" And I've learned over years of working with them that this is when they drop the magic on me. So of course I said, yes, please help me with this. How can I release the stress that I'm feeling, the anger that I'm feeling? Because we know when we get very agitated about something that we're losing our vibration. We're just not in our heart center anymore. We're not in that state of love and calm. But how do we handle these things that just set us off? So what they said as I was in the middle of my mental rant was that they encouraged me to look at this 3D storyline, and you can just fill in the blanks with something that sets your hair on fire. But they encouraged me to look at this 3D story as if it was a test from my higher self. So they said that thing that has you all worked up is just a test from your higher self. I said, well, wait, what does that mean? And what they said is your higher self is testing you to see if you can hold a fifth dimensional frequency no matter what. No matter what you hear in the world around you, no wonder what news story flashes across your phone, no matter what the rest of the people are doing or choosing or talking about, can you hold your frequency? Because as they were telling me, in order to move into fifth dimensional energy, and in the spiritual community, sometimes we like to think of this as the new earth or 5D, in order to move into that, which is the goal of all of us in the spiritual community, in order to do that, we have to be able to hold fifth dimensional energies 100% of the time, no matter what is happening around us, no matter what anyone else is doing, no matter what our information channels are telling us is going to happen. So the test that our higher self is giving us right now is to see if we can hold our 5D frequency no matter what. And as the P's are explaining this to me, this flipped everything like a light switch. Because rather than looking at this 3D storyline and feeling powerless and angry and how dare they, which is how I was feeling at the time, I suddenly completely changed how I was looking at the situation. Nothing else had changed except my perspective. So instead of feeling powerless and angry and frightened, which is how most of these 3D storylines are designed to make us feel, it's very intentional. Instead, I looked at it as a little test from my higher self. And it was kind of like being in high school, where if you ever had that moment where someone got a peek at the answer key and you knew what the questions were going to be on the test, you made sure you learned those topics because you had a little sneak peek as to what was coming. And so as soon as the Pleiadians reframed the situation by encouraging me to look at it as a test, then it changed everything. I was suddenly back in power because I knew the question on the test. So if that storyline was a test from my higher self, then I wasn't going to fail the test. So I wasn't going to let myself get all bent out of shape about something if I knew it was only a test. So all of a sudden I had gone from being in a frequency of fear and anger and powerlessness to the other end of the frequency scale, where I was laughing at the story. I had complete confidence that this wasn't going to throw me off my game. I looked at that story and literally laughed at it. And again, all that happened was a change of perspective. But what that change allowed me to do was completely shift my vibration on that topic. I went from feeling powerlessness to feeling in complete confidence and control. And so what the P's were offering to me was a way to hold my vibration when I ran into all of those shiny stories that we're seeing in our world right now, right? We never ever want to be in denial or suppression or avoidance. And I wasn't. I was looking directly at this story, but having a different reaction. So I wanted to share this little nugget with you. Again, this isn't one of the P's formal channeled messages like I usually share, but sometimes the magic is in just the little nuggets of wisdom that they drop. So what they were trying to accomplish with me when they gave me this advice was to help me hold my frequency more. So that as we go about in the world right now, as we all have to do, I mean, we're still humans, we are running into all of these dense storylines. And anything that we are getting stressed out about in the world around us is just a storyline. So as I'm starting to take the opportunity with all of these things that we're hearing about in the world and looking at them through this new lens of, well, what if this is just a test from my higher self to see? And I just imagine my higher self sitting there going, I wonder if she's going to fall for this, and dangling another little carrot in front of me to see what my reaction is. Because again, if we are going to move into 5D energies, we've got to be able to hold our frequency. We can't take the 3D stuff with us. So we can't be losing our shit all the time, getting into fear and powerlessness if we are wanting to move into 5D energies. So I thought this was a really profound lesson that the P's taught me of how to hold my vibration better. So I wanted to share this with you guys because if you can follow what the P's are offering us here, it can really be a game changer. This has completely changed how I look at all of the scary stories out there. I'm looking at everything now as it is just testing me to see if I can really hold 5D energies. Because once we can really hold on a permanent basis 5D energies, and that just means staying in our heart, staying in love and compassion, not getting into fear and powerlessness. If we can hold that all the time, we pass the test and we will actually manifest the 5D reality around us. I just wanted to share this little bit of wisdom that the P's dropped on me because sometimes, y'all, it's the little stuff that makes the biggest difference. So I hope this helps y'all as much as it helped me. It really was a profound little shift in perception because that's really all it was. It's just changing how we look at things. Because as we've heard in our spiritual community, it doesn't really matter what's happening, only matters how we react to it. So this is what the P's have for you in today's POV. As always, if you want to work one-on-one with the P's and get even more of this amazing advice that they have for us, click the link in the description to work with me and the P's one-on-one. And as always, don't forget, click the subscribe button and the like button if you haven't done that yet. I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.